a.m. The perfect time to spend an evening with the Hat Man. You know, several years ago, I saw a documentary on the subject of comedy. Now, in this documentary, they covered all the different kinds of comedy they were. Specifically, the section that I'm thinking of right now was on visual comedy. They covered everything from the pie in the face to the stand-up comedians and everything in between. One that stuck in my mind was from the 1920s, early 1920s, and it involved a businessman holding a briefcase trying to cross a busy city street. 1920s. The traffic was heavy and hard and would not slow down or stop to let him cross the street. Man had to get to work, so he kept looking at his watch and looking at the traffic, looking at his watch and looking at the traffic. Finally, he decided, I'm going for it. And he tried to weave and bob and dance his way across the busy street full of traffic with his hat, his tie, his briefcase, and his business suit on. In the process of trying to make it across the street, he was spun around, turned around, hat knocked off, jacket ripped off, beleaguered and bewildered and befuddled and pounded upon. And when he finally made it across the street, he spun around, a disheveled, dirty, tattered mess, and sat on the curb. Now you would think that this was the end of the joke. He's all beat up and tore up and beat up and disheveled, but he made it across the street. At that very moment, his briefcase popped open as he was sitting there, dumped all its contents onto the street. He looked down at everything in his briefcase scattered all over the sidewalk with a look of bewilderment in his face. And just then, from the waist down, you see a set of legs walk by and drop a quarter in his empty briefcase. That was the punchline of the joke. That's kind of what the phrase, a comedy of errors, means. I'm making sure I'm running. And I don't want to go all the way through this thing and find out I ain't running. That would be a comedy of errors. Lately, in the last 2 weeks, I myself have been the participant in a comedy of errors. I drive an old car. I like this car. It's old enough that most of the work that needs to be done to it I can do myself. It's literally on that borderline between too advanced to work on yourself and a good old car. Well, I came to the conclusion, that my car could probably use a new set of wheel bearings on the front wheels. Now, some of you may be saying, well, what the heck are wheel bearings? Well, they allow the front wheels of your car, if you have a rear-wheel drive car, which is really rare these days. Most people get pulled along the highway by the front wheels doing all the going forward and going backward. But in the old days, the back wheels pushed you down the highway and did all the going forward and going backward. And the only thing the front wheels did was turn and steer and stop if you put the brakes on. More on that later. I ordered me some wheel bearings, little donut-shaped devices with roller bearings on them. There's 2 on each tire in the front end of an older car. And those bearings are what allows that wheel to spin and spin and spin for 100,000 miles without the metal holding the wheel to the car getting so hot it burns up and your tire goes flying. Those of us lucky enough to have grown up in the era of wheel bearings are not unfamiliar with the process of putting wheel bearings on a car. Now there's a device on each wheel of the front of a car called a brake caliper. A brake caliper houses brake pads. When you apply the brakes in your car, inside the brake caliper, the brake pads press against a piece of the wheel called a rotor. And those brake pads pressing against your brake rotor allows the car to stop. Now, to replace the wheel bearings on either side of the front end of your older car, you have to take the brake calipers off so that you can take the part that spins, that has the bearings in it, off of your car. Now, since I had planned on doing this, I evaluated my brake calipers and decided, they're okay. They're in great shape, but there's a lot of money getting new brake calipers and new brake pads. I'm just going for the wheel bearings. So I ordered me a set of wheel bearings. 2 days, I was told. They'll be here in 2 days. So 2 days later, I showed up at the place where I had ordered my wheel bearings. They looked more surprised than me when they only had one set of wheel bearings. After some investigative reporting, I was told that one set of wheel bearings had come from Atlanta, Georgia, and it was there. But the other set of wheel bearings, for some inexplicable reason, was coming from California, and they weren't in yet. Huh, I said. I said. Then they told me that the truck had not come in yet today, and more than likely, the other set of wheel bearings would be on the truck coming in today. So if I came back tomorrow, they'd probably have my wheel bearings. So, long story short, came back the next day, and sure enough, the other set of wheel bearings were in. And so, I had to reschedule the time I had planned on in taking off my brake calipers, removing what are called your front rotors, in the center of which are your wheel bearings. Had to wait a few more days before I'd have the time to do that. But I had my wheel bearings. In the meantime, in between time, I needed some from the hardware store up the street. So I drove my car into the parking lot of the hardware store. In that same parking lot is a bar. What I like to call a pound down bar. The only reason people go there is to get drunk. As I was cutting across the parking lot headed for the hardware store, a man in a black BMW with tinted windows, a black short sleeve shirt, and a gold chain was leaving the bar and headed right for me at a high rate of speed. I foolishly thought that he would see me since I had the right of way entering from the highway, the street and all. I had a slam on my brakes. At the very last minute. As hard as I could. Which caused me to screech and slide and my car squeal like a pig. Got his attention, and he slowed down too. My car was now at an angle to his car, but we didn't hit each other. I suppose the right thing to do would have been just move on, but I couldn't conceal my anger, and I shook my fist, and I pointed at the fact that my car had the right of way, and what the heck? He got mad and shook his fist back at me. I proceeded, he proceeded, and that was that on that. I went into the hardware store, bought what I needed. None of it had anything to do with my car. And when I got back out into the parking lot, when I got back out into the parking lot to start my car, it started, but it wouldn't move. Wouldn't move. The process of slamming the brakes has caused one front brake caliper and one rear brake caliper to freeze in the on position. My car didn't want to move. I was mad. I was angry. I took off the parking brake. Car still wouldn't move. So I just drove away, lock brakes and all. Burning brake pad as I left. About halfway home, it eased up a little bit, but not much. So now I'm faced with the dilemma of not only replacing my wheel bearings, now I'm looking at brake calipers and brake pads too. Next day, I get out, and the car seems like, hey, you know what? It ain't perfect, but it's driving okay. Stopping and everything, rolling and everything. So I put the wife in the car and take her shopping. About 5 miles into the mission, I come up to a red light. Best be stopping, don't you think? No brakes. None. Pedal to the floor. Downshifted like I was taught way back when. And managed to maneuver my way using the gears and the gearbox to the place we were headed, because we were almost there anyway. Bought what we needed to buy and made it home. But now it was time to order more parts. more parts I did. Had to do a lot of shopping for brake calipers for my car. But I finally found them. And they were in stock. Now in the old days, which was quite a while, the last time I did this kind of project, when you bought brake calipers for my kind of car, brake pads was already in them. If you've ever replaced brake calipers on a car, you know you can't just pick up new ones and walk away. You got to turn in your old ones, because they send them back to the company who strips them down, paints them up, puts new parts on them, and resells them as reconditioned brake calipers. So as I carry my old calipers into the car parts store in a box, they bring out the new calipers, each one in an individual box, and this part of the procedure I'm familiar with. This is why I bought the box in the first place. Your old calipers go into the box the new calipers come out of, and you get a receipt, a guarantee, and all that good stuff, but you don't get a box. Well, good thing that they didn't hand me them in a box, because when I looked at them, no brake pads. No brake pads. No brake pads. They don't do that anymore. Oh. So I said, do you have brake pads for these calipers? And they said, well, we have front ones, but we don't have rear ones. We'll have to order them, and it'll be about a week before they get in. So I took my new brake calipers without brake pads in them and headed out the front door, thinking I would call the place where I got the wheel bearings, order brake pads, because they had a pretty quicker turnaround time, and I liked the quality of their parts. So here I am with a box full of brake calipers, which caused me to have both hands full as I had pushed the front door open with my foot. I figured I'd push it hard and walk out quickly, because both my hands were full of box. Well, I pushed real hard and I tried to walk through quickly, but the dang door snapped back like a bear trap. And the handle took a big chunk out of my right forearm, the handle of the door. Ow! So I put the box of brake calipers in my trunk, took a paper towel, wrapped it around my now bleeding right forearm, got on my cell phone and called the place where I got the wheel bearings and ordered 2 sets of brake pads, 4 in total. They told me it'd be 3 or 4 days before they got them in, because the weekend was coming. Remember the fact that the weekend was coming, that's a big factor in this story. So now I'm into projecting much further into the future, when I'm going to have time to do all this work on my car, because this has taken much longer than I ever thought it would. Much longer than I ever thought it would. But I managed to make it home. The next day was Saturday. Now my wife and I, run a lot of errands on Saturday. Luckily, she has a car. By the way, I was using her car to get these calipers. I probably neglected to mention that. Saturday rolls around and we start doing our errand. One of those things we do on Saturday is check out some thrift stores. I found something I really thought was cool for 25 bucks in one of those thrift stores that day. Weighed 115 pounds, I later found out. Had them roll it out to the curb on one of their dollies and had one of the young men who worked there help me put that thing into the trunk of my wife's car. To my surprise, even though this guy was half my age, he wasn't too excited about picking something up that weighed 115 pounds and put it in the trunk of the car. So I braced my left knee against the bumper of the car, grabbed my half of the 115-pound item, and commenced to lifting it in the trunk with him on the other side. About halfway in, he started losing his grip on his side and had a very shocked look on his face. So I reached in even further into the trunk to grab more of the item so I could bear more of the weight and keep it from crashing into the trunk, at which point my left knee inverted itself. Ended up with one heck of a pull muscle in the calf of my left leg, kind of limping like a war veteran. So here I am, faced with all this work ahead of me on my car, and now I'm gimpy on top of it all. Got home, did what I had to do, had dinner, watched some TV, and went to bed. Not knowing what condition my leg would be in the next day. Luckily, it was very sore and very stiff, but I don't think I broke anything. But once again, now I gotta reschedule the car project, because a new factor has been thrown into the equation. Monday, not too much happening. I'm headed up for my brake pads. And they're in. I'm sorry, Tuesday, I headed up for my brake pads and they're in. Guys who work at that counter are some of my favorite people in the automotive parts industry. I like them a lot. As I'm picking up my brake pads, coincidentally, 3 servicemen mechanics are congregated behind the parts counter and talking to me about what I had in mind to do, changing these brake calipers on this old car. And one of them says, you know, you better spray something on those brake lines and the bolts that hold those calipers in before you try to remove them, because more than likely you're going to be dealing with some rust. Do you have any any rust loosener? Anything like that? And I said, no, but I can get some. At which point one of the guys says, hey, here you go. Here's a can on the house. Just let me know how it works. And I thought, man, and I am grateful and will be grateful, but when I got it home and tried to use it, I popped a little it looks like a can of spray paint. And when I popped the plastic lid off it, there was no spray nozzle. It was gone. this, that, and the other thing, and I was actually able to find an old spray can of some kind that the nozzle fit, and yep, sprayed on my lock loosener, rust loosener, and it's, as we speak out there, loosening the rust, we hope. Next day, after I picked up my brake pads, I was walking in a self-closing door again, behind someone who was talking to me as they were leading the way through the door. Unfortunately, again, I had my hands full, and they let the door shut, and I couldn't stop it from shutting because my hands were full. So I used the only thing I could use, which was the foot on my left leg, which is the same leg that has the pull muscle, to try and stop the door from closing on me. Now, I probably should have let it close. I don't know. I guess the memory of my harpoon forearm was still fresh in my head because it was the same kind of door. So out of reflex, I put up my foot and got slammed big time by that door. Left leg, pulled calf muscle, smashed foot. But I did my work that day, didn't think nothing of it. Later that night, I'm watching TV with the wife. No shoes on, feet up on the stool. Went over to the TV to adjust something, and she says, "Oh my God, look at your foot!" And my left foot was the size of the Goodyear blimp, all swelled up with a ring of bruised blood around the bottom of it. Now here we are 2 days later, and the plan, Stan, is for tomorrow to try and do the work on the car. And as it stands, my leg is stiff every morning when I wake up, but as the day progresses, it loosens up a little bit, and the swelling goes down a tad. The next morning, it's all stiff again. And given the way things have been going in this adventure to this point, wonder what I'll be looking at tomorrow when I actually get under that car and try to get something done on it. I'm trying to stay in a positive frame of mind and convince myself that if I take my time and do things methodically, thoughtfully, and don't force it, in other words, don't move faster than you're supposed to move, which is all those things are against my nature, because I usually, the second I think of doing something, I want it done and out of my way, so I tend to move a little too quickly, you know what I'm saying? Which brings me back to that guy in his briefcase. Will I find myself slowly and methodically putting taking the parts off my car and putting the new ones on. And when I'm done, will all my troubles be gone? If you happen to be walking by and see me in a mellow hat, please feel free to drop a quarter in my briefcase. Isn't it kind of interesting how we all see ourselves as being cool? You know, cool. Yeah, we're cool. But the reality of it is we're all about as clumsy and mistake-laden as anyone could possibly be, both you and me. But you know, I've been thinking a dangerous thing sometimes. I've been thinking, what would happen if we weren't intimidated or embarrassed or ashamed of the fact that we were human? I see a lot of things that indicate we like to fool ourselves more and more of late, pretending that we are perfect. That's funny. All you gotta do, yeah, all you gotta do, yeah. All you gotta do, yeah, is turn on the TV, the cable, the radio, the computer, anything that shows people doing stuff on it, yeah. If they want to sell you something, sell you something, they all, whether they be a soap powder, or a political power, or clam chowder, they're all going to tell you the same thing. People that use their stuff are perfect and you ain't. And all you gotta do to be perfectly honest is buy what they're selling, and you too can be perfect for little or no money. Ha! Forget the little or no money part. It's all the money you got. Ha! And if you should be so bold as to ask why, since I bought your product, am I still not a perfect human being, they will tell you, well, you seem to be the only one. Everybody else is perfect. What's your problem? What's your problem, Jack? Or Jill? Why can't you get up that hill? Ha! What's the matter? Did you have inferior feet given to you at some point in your life? Everybody else's feet are perfect because they're not only up the hill or down the hill, back up the hill, and I found a whole new hill. And you're still standing there looking up that hill, scratching your head. You better buy one of these. Yeah, we're all guilty as charged in some way or another. Guilty as charged. What would happen if we weren't afraid to be a human being. B-E-A-N. Jumping bean. How? I mean, listen to. Uh-oh, the phone is ringing. They must be wanting to sell me something. Listen. Hello. Hi, we'd like to sell you something you don't have. What do you sell? I don't know. What don't you have? Ha! My favorite salespeople are politicians. Yeah, buddy. They have it down to a science. They are proficiently profound in the art of convincing us that we need them even though they don't give us anything. Ha! How much more perfect could a salesperson be? They have no product, they have no overhead, and only thing they bring in is a profit. Ha! They have got it down to such a fine art of perfection that they only campaign on telling us how bad the other side is. They offer no hope, no promises, no solutions, no facts, no numbers, no history, no future, no nothing. Just the fact that the other guy's no good. Ha! And if you vote for them, they will solve all your problems because they will have gotten rid of the person who ain't no good. And if you should be so bold as to say after the election, why, I elected you, and you didn't do nothing, they have the gall to look you in the eye, or the closest part of your body they can find, and say without any guilt whatsoever, hey, it's not my fault. The last guy screwed it up so bad. There's no way to fix it. So you're just going to have to elect me again to give me more time, because if I had more time, I know I can fix your problems. At which point you might say, do you even know what my problems are? And they'll look you in the eye, or the closest body part they can find, and say, well, if you don't know what your problems are, how do you expect me to know what your problems are? We no longer sell product. We sell image. Yeah. And how easy is it to sell image to people who don't have any confidence in admitting the fact that I'm a human being, B-E-A-N. Don't think I'm excluding myself from this equation. Every day I fight the battle of living with the fact that I'm stupid. Selling, buying. What are they selling? Why are we buying it? What are they selling? Why are we buying it? I've been doing this for almost 20 years. I still don't exactly know why I do. Seems like just a minute or two sometimes. Other times seems like way too long. I need this thing, but sometimes it feels like it's wrong. Sometimes it feels like it's wrong. Way back in the 1980s, public access television came to Cincinnati, Ohio, the Queen City. In order for it to be allowed to be here, a deal was struck between the cable company and the city and the county. A certain portion of the funds collected for the service of cable TV would be used to create studios across the area for you and me. We could learn how to communicate and spread our voices all across the air. There would be not a charge to the participants of this program. All you needed to do was care about spreading your voice and whatever message or vision you might have. All across the whole area. Best chance for free speech you ever had. At first, in the 1980s, people were excited and wanted to get on board. But when they finally figured out there was no payoff, they all just started getting bored. So the grand adventure, the grand experiment, withered and died on the vine. somebody who really cares. But the general public no longer seems to care. Free speech doesn't seem to be something they want filling up the air. Sex, violence, and corruption. Programs that are full of these. As far as the general public seems to be concerned, these days, those are the subjects they please. And so I'm drifting from channel to channel. Even gave that YouTube thing a try. But I wonder, with each day that passes, why, oh why do I try? Am I just a creature of habit who can't let go of something on his cranial computer once it's there? Or do I really believe in this free speech thing? And do I really believe it needs to be there? 30 years down the road, am I pushing
Bye.